Everyone talks about how the internet changed the world. But what if I told you that construction machines did it first? And even better. Every towering skyscraper piercing the heavens, that sprawling bridge that connects countries, and even the roads beneath your feet right now all exist because these mechanical beasts laid down the groundwork. Welcome back to ConstructoTech. In this video, we'll reveal the most important construction machines ever invented and how they changed our world. Bulldozers. Like many other inventions that propelled the development of mankind, the history of bulldozers is a hotly contested topic. Some historians swear Benjamin Holt cranked out the first one in 1904, but further investigation showed that bulldozer blades were already pushing dirt around by then. Meanwhile, across the pond, England's Hornsby Company was busy modifying their wheeled steam engine into something that looks suspiciously like a bulldozer. Interestingly, Hornsby version was actually closer to the bulldozers we know today. But here's the plot twist. The company sold its patent to Benjamin Holt somewhere between 1913 and 1914, adding more confusion to the mix. Thankfully, that controversy didn't slow down the evolution of bulldozers. These earth-moving monsters excel have been an indispensable equipment, performing remarkably well during pre-construction work like land clearing and grading. But more than anything else, it's during construction that they pull their weight, hauling tons of earth materials and other hefty payloads across the site. Outside construction zones, bulldozers keep our daily lives running smoothly. They sculpt contours and build retaining walls to prevent erosion. And when Mother Nature decides to dump 3 feet of snow on us, these same beasts charge to the front lines with the crucial mission of liberating our parking lots, streets, and public spaces. A few centuries back, these same tasks would have required an entire village of muscle-bound workers sweating buckets. Nowadays, all it takes is one operator and a bulldozer to knock it out before the coffee gets cold. But long before bulldozers rolled onto the scene, another piece of heavy machinery was already busy reshaping our world. Cranes. The history of cranes dates back to 1500 BC, when the ancient Mesopotamians first tried their hands on pulley systems. And as human civilization advanced, those systems were deployed to lift tongs and Lewis irons to build ancient temples, and a compounded version was used to hoist entire warships and their crew. Those unprecedented feats early on laid the groundwork for cranes to reshape not just construction sites, but the entire planet. As it was in the era of the ancient Mesopotamians, modern cranes are primarily assigned tasks that are beyond human capability. Tasks like lifting and lowering steel beams, concrete, and other heavy materials during construction, or rescuing sunken vessels, or loading and unloading cargo from ships. Nowadays, that sounds like a routine task, but if we could just cast our minds back to the ancient times and explore our imagination, I bet it would be a completely different story. Imagine how many able-bodied men it would take to lift a 20,000 metric ton payload. For context, that's equivalent to lifting 8,000 Ford F-150 trucks or 120 Boeing 747 airplanes. I don't know about you, but my imagination tells me you'll need an entire country of agile men to attempt such tedious tasks. And even then, their chances of succeeding will be quite slim compared to the Tyson gantry crane, which can lift the same payload to a height of about 80 meters. That's an incredible achievement, one that would never have been possible without the innovation of the Mesopotamians. But aside from cranes, this ancient civilization also used another construction machine that changed the world in the past and continues to do so even today: dredgers. If you were alive in the 15th century, you probably would have heard of mud mills, an interesting piece of dredging equipment consisting of rotating chains with wooden boards. Initially, they required combined efforts from humans and horses to be operated. But as civilization advanced, steam engines were brought in to replace the required man and horsepower. Under this arrangement, the mud mill became faster and less dependent on humans, but they were also very unreliable. And so, in 1857, the General Moultrie, the world's first suction dredger, was built in the United States. This new tool, which consisted of a 47-centimeter diameter suction pipe and a deck-mounted centrifugal pump, changed the way dredging was done. It had a hopper capacity of 118 cubic meters and was deployed for extensive dredging work around the Charleston River. But unfortunately, it sank just 1 year later in 1858, a stark reminder that our technological exploits at the time were far too weak to withstand the wrath of nature. Unwilling to succumb to defeat, humans made a stunning comeback in 1867. French engineer Henri-Émile Bazin designed more advanced dredgers that were used to create the Suez Canal, which would eventually become one of the world's busiest shipping lanes. And that special moment of inspiration backed by action sparked a revolution that would reshape continents. Today, colossal dredgers have become floating cities of steel and ambition, silently carving the future of our world. In Egypt, dredgers were the cornerstone of the Abu Qir Port Project, a daring operation that involved 223 million cubic meters of dredging and reclamation works. Similarly, these mighty machines played a significant role in the unprecedented expansion of the Panama Canal in 2016. And they are also heavily used in India and Bangladesh, specifically to prevent annual flooding that would otherwise displace millions of people. So, the next time you celebrate rockets and astronauts who reach for stars, also spare a thought for dredgers and their operators, because they shape our world in just as many ways as dump trucks. The relationship between humans and dump trucks began in the late 19th century, when horse-drawn carts were used to tilt and transport materials. Although it served its purpose, reducing the workload on ancient farmers, this rudimentary load transporting system had its limitations. Horse-drawn carts often struggle in rough terrains, and each round trip required extra care to keep the four-legged animals safe and happy. Thankfully, similar models with mechanized engines soon hit the market, courtesy of British naval engineer John Isaac Thornycraft and a host of American companies including the Fraunhofer Trailer Corporation. Within a few years, the dump truck gospel spread like wildfire, so much that Fraunhofer scored a massive military contract, which saw its semi-trucks used for various tasks during World War I and World War II. And as soon as the warring parties sheathed their swords, dump trucks were redeployed to serve their original purpose, which is the movement of earth materials for infrastructural development. From then on, they become a constant feature on construction sites, transporting the raw materials that become schools where children learn to dream, hospitals where lives are saved, and bridges that connect distant hearts. Away from construction sites, these mechanical workhorses are sometimes deployed to clear disaster zones and deliver relief materials to victims. Each task, of course, comes with its own challenges, but these yellow giants never complain. Even in the most difficult terrain, they carry on with their assignment, like a loyal servant with the goal of changing the world one load at a time. Slag transporter. Most of the world's greatest inventions were born out of necessity, and the slag transporter, I imagine, is no different. The earliest known history of these robust machines can be traced back to the 1800s, when specialized pot carriers were used to transport molten slag from the furnace to dumping grounds outside the mills. It was an astonishing invention at the time, one that came with many consequences. A single spill could put dozens of workers in danger and even wipe out entire foundries. But thanks to the advent of modern slag transporters, that risk is now dramatically reduced. In steel mills across China, the US, and many other countries, slag transporters work around the clock to ferry molten byproducts to processing stations. Their efforts turn what was once worthless waste into valuable cement, road aggregate, and construction materials that eventually became the foundation of tomorrow's airports, highways, and cities. In hindsight, it's hard to imagine a world without these machines, because without them, our planet would be a wasteland devoid of the beautiful and grand infrastructure we enjoy today. So the next time someone asks you about humanity's greatest inventions, don't just mention smartphones and rockets. Remember these unsung heroes with steel hearts and hydraulic souls that change our world by turning impossible dreams into concrete reality.